Why do these sentences have two verbs? How do we choose or how do we decide which verb to use? Have you heard of helping verbs or auxiliary verbs? Let's talk about them today. Helping verbs are also auxiliary verbs, and we call them helping verbs because they just help the main verb or the action verb in our sentence. That's why we sometimes see two verbs in one statement. These helping verbs can actually be used alone, but once they are used with another verb or with an action verb, that means they are now functioning as, well, not the main verb or not the action verb, but they're just used as helping verbs. Quite confusing, right? Well, let's continue the discussion. By the way, make sure to watch this video until the end because at the end of the video, I'll give you a short quiz. This video is also part 1 of our discussion on helping verbs because it will take a long time to discuss all of them. In this video, you're gonna learn how to use the forms of be, the forms of do, and the forms of have as helping verbs and not the action verbs alone. Alright, let's start with the forms of be. When we say the forms of be, we're talking about be verbs. The am, is, are, was, were. Also, the be itself, just to show you briefly that this be verb can actually be used alone in the sentence. Let me give you these two sentences. The first one is, she is my sister. This is here is form of be, but it's not used as a helping verb or auxiliary verb in that sentence because we don't have any other verbs aside from is. For the second sentence, she is going to school with me. Now that is has going, which is an action verb after it. So this is here is not functioning now as, well, the linking verb or the main verb in that sentence, but it is functioning as helping verb for the verb going. Forms of be are used if you want to show continuous actions, whether in the present or in the past. Let's have examples first in the present. Let's have this question, what are you doing? What are you doing? This are here is not alone. It's not the sole verb in that sentence. We have doing. So this are is used as a helping verb, and once we answer that, I can say, I am filming. Again, I am filming. Am is used with filming, which is a verb here in the sentence. You are watching. You are watching. That or there is used with watching. Notice as well that the forms of action verbs in these sentences have ing at the end. They are in ing form. He is drinking coffee. He is drinking coffee. They are studying. They are studying. What are they doing? They are studying. Let's have example sentences in past tense form. The past tense of is, that's right, it was. The past tense of are is, well, that's also correct, it's were. So now we're going to use was and were. We don't have am anymore. Let's say we have this question, what were you doing yesterday, say at 8 o'clock? What were you doing yesterday at 8 o'clock? I might say, I was filming. So earlier, if I had am, now I'm using was. I was filming. You were watching. He was drinking coffee. He was drinking coffee yesterday at 8 o'clock. They were studying yesterday. They were studying yesterday at 8 o'clock. Forms of be are also used when there's a change in the voice in our sentence. Well, when we're talking about voice, we're talking about active voice and passive voice. If you're not yet familiar with them, well, I have that video here on this channel. I posted videos on active and passive voice. Go ahead, watch them. Let's have the sentence. Sorry, our food was eaten by the cats. Again, sorry, our food was eaten by the cats. Let's spot the verbs in this sentence. Yes, we do have was and we do have eaten. Alright, so we have two verbs, was and eaten, was eaten. The sentence is in passive voice because the forms of be usually, or they appear once our sentence is in passive voice. Let's have the second sentence. She is driven by her passion to teach. Again, she's driven by her passion to teach. Let's spot the verbs in this sentence. If you say that we have verbs is and driven, well, you're correct. So these are our two verbs in this sentence. Our main verb is driven, and our helping verb here is. She is driven by her passion to teach. Notice that the forms of our main verbs or our action verbs here are in what form? Yes, they are in past participle form. We have eaten, not ate. We have driven and not drove. So when our sentence is in passive voice, we have the be verb or the form of be plus the past participle form of our main verb. We're done with the forms of be. Now let's jump right into the forms of do. Forms of do are do, does, and did. The same as forms of be, these forms of do can actually be used solely in sentences. For example, in the sentence or in the statement, she did it. She did it. In this sentence, we only have one verb, which is, yes, that's did. So that means this is our action verb here. But to show you that forms of do can also be used as helping verbs, let's have a few examples. When someone tells you, do try it, they're telling you this sentence is an imperative form. That means they're telling you something to do, that you really have to try something. You might have told to try a dish or to try on putting some clothes, things like that. In this sentence, we have two verbs. One is do, the other one is try. We can just say try it, but we have here do try it. This do actually just adds emphasis that you really have to do it. You have to really try it. We can also use forms of do in negative form. Don't go out without an umbrella. Don't go out without an umbrella because you know it's rainy season. So yeah, always bring an umbrella. Anyway, in this sentence, we have two verbs. One is, okay, we have there, don't, the negative form of do, and we have go. We can also use this in question form. Does she go to training center? Again, does she go to training center? We have does, and we have still go. If you're going to make this question a statement, you may say, she does go to a training center. Again, she does go to a training center. The same as earlier, this does here just gives an emphasis that she really goes to a training center. That's why we have does before the verb go. Let's have a form of do in past tense form. Did you watch my video on active and passive voice? Again, did you watch my video on active and passive voice? What are the two verbs in this question? We have did and we have watch. Now, I want you to see something here because this is usually the confusion of learners when it comes to using do, does, and did with another verb. Take a look at our main verbs here. Okay, notice that their form is in base form, meaning to say they're not in past tense form, no ed, no ing, no s, no es, right? So that means when we're using do, does, and did in our sentences, we don't use our action verbs in any other forms but in their base form, in their original form. Let's have these sentences. She went to the training center. I didn't. She went to the training center. I didn't. Notice that in the second clause, that I didn't part, we actually don't have any other information. That means there's usually an omission of some details if we're already familiar, or we know already what we're talking about. Do you go to school? You can just say, I do, and that's enough. That's the same thing here. She went to the training center. I didn't. Forms of do are also used when you want to confirm something. For example, you told her to come, didn't you? You told her to come, didn't you? Let's have the last set of helping verbs, at least in this video. Again, this is part 1. I'm gonna upload part 2 of this lesson where I'll talk about modal auxiliaries. The can, could, will, may, might, should. Well, yeah. Anyway, the last set of helping verbs in this video is, or are, the forms of have. We have has, have, and had. In the sentence, I have eaten, I have eaten, I can just say I ate, but to be more specific when it comes to time, I'm just saying that I've just finished eating. So I'm saying I have just eaten, or I have eaten. In negative form, let's have she hasn't written the email yet. She hasn't written the email yet. We have hasn't, yes, the negative form of has. We have there has and not. Then we have the main verb or the action verb here, which is written. Notice that we have the word yet in this sentence. So earlier, if I used this form with the word just to say that an action has just finished, for this one we have yet, because we usually say our sentences, if we're going to say or attach yet with it, in this tense, in present perfect tense. Have you been to Manila before? Again, have you been to Manila before? So we have, and then we have the other verb, which is been. Well, don't be confused here. Well, I said earlier we have forms of do as helping verb, but in this sentence we have the form of be as the main verb. So our helping verb here is the verb have. Let's have an example of had. She had finished eating before we arrived. Again, she had finished eating before we arrived. Now, I want you to notice something. So earlier, if in the forms of do, I told you that you don't use the main verb or the action verb in any other forms, but in base form of the verb. Now, for the forms of have, I want you to look at our main verbs. Okay, so we have there verbs in which form? Yes, they are in past participle form. And remember this, when you're using has, have, and had with other verbs, those other verbs should be in their past participle form. In past participle form, I mean to say the fourth form of the verb. Okay, again, with our example earlier, if we have eat, we have eating, we have ate, the last form, eaten, is the past participle form. Okay, in regular verbs, past participle forms are also their simple past forms. But in irregular verbs, commonly they have or they end with an en. And that's how we use helping verbs, forms of be, forms of do, and forms of have. I'm gonna give you now a short quiz. I have here 10 items. For the first 5 sentences, you have to identify whether the statements or the sentences have or contain helping verbs or not. Let me know your score after this. Write it in the comments. First sentence, he's a great dancer. He is a great dancer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If your answer is no, it doesn't have a helping verb, well, you're correct. Number 2, she is cleaning her room. Again, she's cleaning her room. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, if your answer is yes, then you're also correct. We do have a helping verb here. The verb is. Third sentence, they have 3 classes today. They have 3 classes today. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, we don't have a helping verb here in the sentence. The have here is the main verb. Fourth sentence, they have studied for 3 hours. Again, they have studied for 3 hours. Is it a yes or a no? Do we have a helping verb here or not? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes, we do have a helping verb here. We have. For the last one, did someone call me? Again, did someone call me? Yes or no? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, we have the helping verb here, did, because we have the other verb, call. You're doing great. Let's move to the second part of the short quiz. Here, you have to choose which verb or which helping verb is applicable in each sentence. For number 1, they were gardening when I saw them. They were gardening when I saw them. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. The answer here is were, because we have the other verb saw. This means this is in the past. Great. Next one. Amy had bought a new phone few minutes ago. Again, Amy had bought a new phone few minutes ago. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, our answer here is has, because we have a few minutes ago. Good. Third one. Have had you tried eating there? Again, have had you tried eating there? 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Our answer here is it's have. Have you tried eating there? What did you read last month? What did you read last month? It's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's did, because we have last month. For the last one, she was decorating her room. Go help her. Again, she was decorating her room. Go help her. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's right. The answer here is. We're done with the discussion. We're done with the short quiz as well. I hope this lesson has been helpful. If you found this informative, share this with other English learners. Again, I'll be waiting for your scores there in the comment section. It is always dream and make your dream happen. I'll see you next time. Bye!